if cosine of theta is equal to negative 1/3 and sine of theta is greater than 0, find the other 5 trig ratios. All right, first thing we notice here is that this is not one of those nice values, right? So what do I mean by that? It's not one of these 30, 60, or 45 degree numbers here. Okay? So let's take a look. All right, well, we know that the cosine of theta is equal to negative 1/3. Of course, the cosine is the x value, so wherever we are, we must be in either the second or the third quadrant here. But notice, we also know that the sine of theta is positive. So in that case, that narrows down our choices, right? What quadrant is this angle in? Okay, well, if cosine is negative and sine is positive, we have to be in quadrant 2. Okay, so once again, just eyeballing this guy, right? We'll call this angle theta. Remember, we can call it theta or t or whatever we want, right? In this case, this is theta. We also know that the x value here is negative 1/3, and well, we want to find the y value, right? Now, of course, we don't need to draw out the triangle. It always helps, okay? But essentially what we're doing is we're dealing with this triangle right here, okay? We know that this length is 1/3. Once again, because it's a coordinate, we call it negative 1/3, but this length is 1/3. We can call this 1, okay? Or we can, but we have to find this guy, right? Now, I should note, another thing we can also do is this, okay? So if we draw out the triangle, we'll draw out the circle, we'll sort of do the same thing. But we know that cosine is negative 1/3, right? Okay, so we're going to do almost the same thing here. Okay? But instead of calling this guy, this coordinate here, negative 1/3, right? Remember, cosine, we can call it equal to x over 1, which we did in this case, or we can call it x over r, right? Which is negative 1/3. So that means this point here could be negative 1. This could be 3, right? Because this is still, cosine of theta is still equal to negative 1/3, and we want to find this guy. Either way, right, these two triangles are similar, right? Okay, now don't be fooled by the size of how big I drew this, right? But these have the same exact shape, okay? So it doesn't really matter which way we do this. Now, one thing we do have to realize is, yeah, we need to find this y value here, right? So remember here, we'll call this negative 1/3, and this length equal to 1, and we want to find this y value. Or if we use this diagram, we'll call this length negative 1, this will be 3. You notice cosine is still equal to negative 1/3 in both cases, right? But we just want to find the y value. Okay, so, I mean, we'll use this guy, it doesn't really matter. X squared plus y squared is equal to 1. Okay, so we got negative 1/3 squared plus y squared is equal to 1. 1/3 squared is 1/9, right? So y squared is going to equal 1 minus 1/9. Okay, get the LCD, 9 over 9. This is equal to 8 over 9. Okay, so then y is going to equal the square root of that, right? The square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. The square root of 9 is 3. Now you notice we do get plus and minus here, right? We do get a plus and minus. However, you're not going to give me both answers, right? How do you know if the answer should be positive or negative or not? And that depends on where this point is located. This point is in quadrant 2. So this point must be positive 2 rad 2 over 3. All right, now if you did it this way, we should get, here, let me do this, negative 1 here, we should get 2 radical 2 here, right? But remember, because r is not equal to 1 in this case, r is equal to 3. Look at these coordinates, right? Essentially, every number here, right, is going to be 3 times every number here. This triangle is essentially 3 times bigger than this triangle here. Okay? Well, there we go. Now that we have the x and y values, we know that we're in quadrant 2. Right? Remember, we can use either one. Just make sure you get the correct value of r here, right? Okay, so cosine, we know, is negative 1/3. So, of course, the reciprocal of that is secant, which should be negative 3. Right? The sine value is positive. It should be 2 radical 2 over 3. The cosecant, we'll just flip that guy around. Now, because we're going to end up with the radical, let's just do the math here, right? 3 over 2 radical 2. So I'm going to rationalize, multiply by 2 rad 2. I get 3 rad 2 over 4 in this case. So 3 rad 2 over 4. Tangent of theta is y over x, right? So in this case, I'll just get negative 2 rad 2. Cotangent of theta, we have to flip that guy over. I'll do that work on the side once again. 1 over 2 radical 2. So once again, we need to rationalize that. I get radical 2 over, in this case, I get 4. It should be negative, right? It should be negative. So negative radical 2 over 4. We always want to make sure that all our answers are simplified and rationalized.